Okay, so let's get into our talk today. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Father Gaurav Nair. He's going to be speaking about pioneering the press, origins of journalism in India. I'll just tell you a bit about Father Gaurav Nair, who is also known as Gaurav Joseph. He is a Capuchin priest currently serving as the editor in chief of Indian Currents, a leading Catholic weekly magazine. Born and raised in Delhi, he belongs to the Order of Friars Minor Capuchin, s- specifically part of the Kris Jyoti province serving northern India. In November 2023, he was appointed editor-in-chief of Indian Currents, succeeding Father Suresh Mathew, who had led the publication for 9.5 years. His writings reflect strong socio-political awareness with particular focus on democracy, secularism, and the relationship between religion and politics in India. As editor of Indian Currents, a publication with 35 years of history, Father Gaurav provides critical analysis of current political developments from a Catholic perspective. His editorial style combines religious perspective with political analysis, offering readers a faith informed view of current events while maintaining journalistic rigor. We welcome Father Gaurav Nair to speak on the topic Pioneering the Press Origins of Journalism in India. And Father Nair, you have about 16 minutes.
Thank you, dear Sonal, for the beautiful introduction. I would not have said that much about myself, to tell you the truth. So, the first of all, thank you for inviting me to this platform to come and present this topic before you, origins of journalism. And though I don't have a background in journalism, but I was somehow forced into it. So, by giving me this opportunity, I think you have also enabled me, you have also forced me to be on this topic. So, what I'm going to take is how influence Christian missionary influenced journalism in India. And I think deny that. I think it was also highlighted by certain national leaders in the past, but somehow it was never brought into focus and it's lost along the way. So I, I am having a little technical difficulties right now because some renovation is in around, and I'm really sorry if you don't you see any problems. Okay, so please give me some leeway for that. Right. So we go directly to the, and I would like to say right now that I'm very sure I will be able to do proper justice to the topic within the time frame that we have been given. But unfortunately, we have to stick to the time. Okay, so we directly go into the topic, right? So see, the press is the foundation of journalism, because unless you are able to reach out your content to the people, you are unable to reach out ideas, your ideations to the people, there won't be any journalism at all, right? So the first press was invented in Germany by Johannes Gutenberg, and then the beautiful thing about it is that the missionaries brought it to India within almost like the first 100 years of it being available, and that is, I think, the best thing that the missionaries have done ever for journalism, especially in India. So the early missionary printing, we're going to the slide. Yeah. So the early missionary printing was available from like 16th century to the 18th century, and the pioneers of that were the Jesuits in Goa. The Jesuits are an order which are who are very very famous for actually evangelism, for their zeal in bringing the word of God to the people. It is as a side effect of this that the press was introduced. They established a college, St. Paul's College in Goa in 1556, and for their purposes, they had established a press. And Father Joao de Bustamante, he was the first printing technician in India, and they brought out many philosophical treatises and early Christian texts. It was basically to teach in those colleges. And there was that they developed the Tamil and Portuguese dictionaries to understand the local people, and so that the local people could also understand and benefit from the Western ideas. And it was later expanded into the Rakol Seminary Press in 1616 and to other Jesuit houses as they kept on expanding their reach. Another very, very important what do you call can say a stage was the Lutheran press at Sankeva. It was basically the Halle missionaries, the missionaries from Halle, Bartholomeus and Heinrich, who established the press in it's almost like near Chennai, near the present day Chennai, and they established the press for printing the New Testament and for other religious purposes. But then it also expanded later into journalistic practice, and it had a very very important effect because it was not under the control of the British Empire. The British started initially, they came initially established as the East India Company, but they didn't have any missionary activities at the time. And this Lutheran press was of a Danish enterprise, and that's why they were able to focus more on journalism. They were able to counter journalism. In the English, used this press to express their dissatisfaction with the bad practices that the British were doing at the time, right? And then another important event, another important step towards it, it was the SPCK and the Anglican Press. So they were more as missionary activities were allowed in India by the British Empire, by the East India Company, as it transformed into the British Empire, transferred into the British Empire. They allowed missionary activity, and SPCK and the Anglicans were established in India. And they were, again, were a very, very important foundation because they exist with us until today. They started in the 18th century, and then they have contributed a lot, as I said, to the development of local languages like Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, and Persian all were introduced these presses. So there are some outtakes I think we must understand from this, and it lays the foundation for our understanding of journalism how in India. The first thing is that all of this was a side effect of the evangelization. Journalism did not appear as a direct consequence, but it was a side effect. When these presses were made available, people were able to bring out the moral values, and these moral values surely are what journalistic practices tend towards. Then the second outtake is that this all came with the missionaries. If the missionaries had come to India, I think the press would have taken much longer time to be established in India, and journalism would have because of that. It would have taken as much longer to have some kind of journalistic foundation in India. And the third aspect is that it was initially concentrated in the south, and I think that also has many implications which we will be looking forward in the slides which are. So the first press that was actually established in India was at the Serampur Mission Press. It was established in the 1800s. It served until 1840s when it was merged with the Baptist Press, but we'll look into it later. And the founders of this were William Carey, who was a linguist and pastor, Joshua Marshman, who was a scholar and educator, and William Ward. These three are the Baptist trio, we call them, and they were foundational. They were the fathers of journalism, you can say, in India. They operated from the Danish, as we said earlier. It was not operating from a British context; they were operating from Danish context, which enabled them to uh, uh, counter the British practices which were happening at the time and which actually led to the journalism. So it was counter the British hostility that they Seram from the Danish press. They released many scriptures and many other literatures in terms of languages to sustain their goals to bring the people to power, right? And they had basically a very educational outreach. As I said, these owners had established colleges, schools, and it was basically to cater to them that these presses were established so that they could print their books. And it was in this context in 1818 that the Serampur press began publishing the first English periodicals and school readers in simple Bangla to educate the local people. The output of this was that the combined native craftsmen together with the European technology, because then there was no technology available for the local languages to print anything locally in vernacular. But when these Europeans came, they taught the Indian craftsmen to build, to make local languages available to the people through these presses. And that's how they churned out various scripts in Bangla, in Sanskrit, in Odia, in Burmese, in Gujarati, and Chinese. So it was almost like a center for all of South and Southeast Asia. And that had a lot of impact on what we see is the journalistic practices of the. And then another name I said before that the Sarapur Press did last long. It was merged together with the Baptist Mission Press in Calcutta because of certain reasons, because of they were not able to sustain the press at all. So in 1818, Serampur Mission had established a second press in Calcutta under Reverend W.H. Pierce, which paralleled the Serampur operations. And in 1818, it was that the Friends of India, an English language weekly, uh, which was brought forward by the Carey Circle, which started and it was continued until 1875. Then there was a merger in 1837 because of the heavy debts of the Sarangas. They were not able to sustain the press, and then they had to merge the press to keep it operational. But the Serampur legacy continued into the new press because Serampur had become synonymous with reliable news and literature. So that was the main significance after the merger of it, right? And from there we go into missionary vernacular journalism. But there in this merged press that the locals were able to develop languages, to develop scripts, to develop typography, to enable printing in locals. And that's how local language journalism took to its feet. We step into missionary vernacular journalism in Bengal because these were certain centers in Mumbai, in Madras, and in Bengal that the journalistic tendencies grew, that the press tendencies grew, and they enabled to bring proper journalistic practices in India. in that we see the first newspaper which was established is Samachar. It was established in Calcutta in 1818. It was edited by J.C. Marsh and his son. It was a first actually. It was a weekly Bengali newspaper, and it reported local and international news and government notices. And it was again, as I said, since it was a missionary endeavor, they had a kind of a Christian outlook. They brought moral treatises, moral essays into the newspaper, and they try to counter the existing social practices which were existing in Indian practices, we would say. Then another was Digdarshan. It was from the Serampur Press in 18, launched by again John J. Marsh. It was education, it's for youth mostly, but it covered a lot of ground like geography, agriculture, natural language, and all that. Then there's another Friend of India from Calcutta that was in 1821. It was established weekly from the Serampur Baptists. It can use editorials, obituaries, and missionaries. So again, we see a kind of a Christian background in all of this. Then the press and journalism in South India. In South India, it was basically the Tamil press, which was established first. It was a Trankebar mission, as we saw earlier, and it had a Christian background. It was then taken over by SPCK, and it was from this Christian tracts and news pamphlets that journalism grew in South India. Then another important one is the Malayalam Press, was established in the 19th century. It was established by the CMS missionaries by Reverend Benjamin Bailey, and it actually brought proper journalism to the context of Kerala. The first newspaper was Rajya, and with that, I think people started uh, questioning the norms, these norms which existed at the time, and it was from there journalism takes off. Then there were other regions like the Maharashtra, Bombay, and Punjab region. Bombay and Gujarat were a very, very important center for the press. Uh, Again, founded on on Christian literature, but then the first newspaper was Bombay Samachar. It was brought out by a Parsi-founded Gujarati. It was founded by a Gujarati person. But as I said, early practices enabled the upcoming generations to lay the foundations for popular language journalism or even all kinds of journalism proper to India, right? And then there was another one in the Punjab region. It was the Ludhiana Mission Press. It was established by the American Presbyterians. From there, newspapers, periodicals used in Punjabi and in Urdu. Late also in Sindh and Balochistan was for partition, so that region also was catered to from India. There's a CMS and CMS missionaries and the Irish Presbyterian missionaries that language was 1830s. It was near Karachi, operated from Karachi, Balochistan area, and Muslim papers followed later from all this. Uh, I think that another important aspect must see the evangelism, journalism, education, and colonial policy, because all of them were somehow knitted together. As I said, the journalistic practices, and it also aimed at
Hello,
educating the
Nair,
people,
could you finish in a
educating the
couple
more.
of minutes?
Yeah,
Could
sure.
you take a
I'll try
couple of
as soon as.
minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then and then there are also influences of the colonial policies. As I said, there were dual aims. It was the missionary newspapers and periodicals that were designed to spread the Christian ideas, to spread Western knowledge and literacy, and it is from there that it develops. Uh, we see in education, many mission presses were established for colonial education purposes, and it was to supply primers and grammar books at different colleges and government schools. A very important one of them is the Sarampur College itself, and also the Madras Christian College. And these were tied to this press network. So we cannot separate this education. We cannot these presses. Then a colonial context, as I said initially, that the East India Company had forbidden missionary practice. They were kind of trying to be very oriented, but eventually it gave way into missionary work. But the government remained suspicious of these activities because if you know the Anglican background, the church and the state were not in very, very good terms, right? So, influence on the society, that is where we must look at. Mission publications informed Indians of the world events. Because until then, Indians were not so say there were not, had not been an influx of educational resources which would enable literacy or enable any kind of growth. So it is these presses which enable this influence, and I think it started debates on many important things like education, like justice on widowhood, and many other things. There are challenges and resistances of this. There was a government scrutiny. British officials often they monitored these vernacular publications for kind of sections. They used to force people, they used to trust people based on text within this journalistic, within this publications journalists. Okay, and then the mission press legal loopholes like and like Sapporo suit to operate. As I said, the Danish Saram especially was Danish, so the British had no control over that. And for to propagate to grow, it had to use these loopholes governments to suppress otherwise. And after 1835, the press freedom was banned, but the in 78 vernacular pact later again in language nationalist papers, and then there was also local opposition. There were local communities did not trust journalism was mistrust of missionary. Then there were Bengali newspapers totally attacked by J.C. Marshall as hirelings of governments, resulting with the missionary press. Even though they were good book, but they were attacked by the locals as well as the government themselves.
We
And
have
then
the
the traditional rights to acknowledge vernacular as authoritative. So I just this that there were also some sensitivities. There were translations of Hindu scriptures which were being made by the missionaries, but to provoke controversy instead of acceptance. They were seen as a misrepresentation. There are also missionary journalists, occasionally facing bans, and then there were many obstacles. It was always a complex thing, and it took quite to materials which would enable printing, which would enable, I think, and this basically things of journalism in India. And I think, as we saw, Christians have made quite a bit of contribution towards it. And we cannot completely negate the impact of the Christian influence on the press in journalism. Thank you.
Indian Christian Day. Yeshu Bhakti Divas. Love, serve and celebrate.